Welcome to yet another Kings of War battle report. This time, Goblins versus Dwarves, starring the Blue Giant. Bum bum bum. So, this is the Invade scenario, 2,000 points. So, of course, in Invade, the idea is to get as much unit strength as possible into the opponent's half of the table. And if you have more unit strength in their half than they do in yours, then you will reign supreme. So, if you saw the last Goblin battle report, you may know that I tried out a list of goblins with no shooting whatsoever, and it actually did very well. So I decided, you know what, let's try another game without any rock lobbers, because I'm used to taking 3 or 4. Let's try 0 rock lobbers again and see how it goes, but I will incorporate some shooting back into it. So, I will go through my goblin list in a second. The terrain, we've got a couple of nice hills there that are looking very snowy. A couple of snowy fields of difficult terrain over there. Another one here, not so snowy. Forest here, and a nice impassable house and an impassable portal thing there as well. And there are various obstacles around the place. So, my list. We have a Goblin Rabble Regiment and a Rabble Horde next to each other there. We have 3 Troll Hordes. As usual, I've gone for one with Dwarven Ale, one with Chalice of Wrath. Those are my 2 must-have troll items. If you're thinking about taking trolls, you can't go wrong with those 2 items. And then the third one is generally up for debate, the third item. And in this game, because of points limitations, because of other things that I took, I just gave one of them the Mace of Crushing as well. 2 regiments of Fleabag Rider Sniffs in this list. And normally I would only take 1, but I'm trying out 2 here. And no Spitters this time, just Sniffs instead. I find them much more versatile. Then 2 War Trombones, not 3. A Flaggit with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness, giving that another go, just on foot. 2 Troll Bruisers, one with the Blade of Slashing. A Mincer, and 2 Giants. So I've gone for a lot of meat with some shooting sprinkled in. So let's see how it does. So we don't have any wizards. Let's have a look at the deployment. So I've got some of the Sniffs over on my left flank. I've got all the rabble over here. Now, because this is Invade, and I've got slightly more drops and definitely more maneuverability than my opponent, who has Dwarves, definitely much more speed on my army. I've got mostly speed 6 or above. So I'm going to be spreading out the game as much as possible. And if we get into multiple different fights, if he should come out on top, then his troops mostly won't be fast enough to join in the fight on the other side of the table, whereas my units often will be, especially the Fleabags, which is why I've got them all the way out on the flank. So if they manage to kill what's over here, they've got a decent chance of pushing into the middle and joining in a different fight, which is a luxury my opponent does not have due to the very slow-natured Dwarves. So we've got War Trombone behind there. The only flyer in his list is a king with the wings of Honey Maze. So fly defense, War Trombones are always good for that. We've got a giant right there. One of the Troll Hordes. This is the one with the Mace of Crushing. So the one that doesn't have any particular item that's going to help them if they become wavered, they're sitting behind the lines a bit. They don't want to take the first hit, basically. Then, on the other side of the house, we've got one of the Bruisers. We've got another Troll unit. This is the one with the Chalice of Wrath. But I use the Chalice of Wrath and the Dwarven Ale pretty much interchangeably in terms of how I use the 2 units, because they're both just there just to limit the effects of them becoming wavered, especially when they take the first charge from something like cavalry. We've got the Mincer behind there and the Flaggit there as well. So I haven't got that much inspiring, and I don't have any inspiring over here at all. Over on this flank, we have got the other unit of Trolls with Dwarven Ale, another Bruiser, this is the one with the Blade of Slashing, represented by Harambe. We have another Giant, another War Trombone, and the other unit of Sniffs all the way out there. So I've got 3 distinct fighting forces here. This is the biggest, that must be where he had the biggest concentration of troops over there. And 3 distinct battlefields, and like I said, if he manages to win any of these 3 different encounters, the units that he manages to get through, all they're going to be able to do is really score in the scenario. And they're not going to be able to help out the rest of the fight. Whereas my stuff, if you look on this flank, I've got things like the Giant, Trolls, Fleabags, they're all pretty speedy. And over on this side, Giant, more Fleabags, Bruiser, which is nimble, so it's nice, easy to get through. So looking at possibly killing one of the flanks and then bringing in the troops that succeed on that flank into the centre to help out there, where I've got less units. And of course you have to spread out a bit with invade, otherwise the enemy will just plough straight through the gap that you leave and just sit in your half. And if you're fighting them in your own half, especially facing backwards, you're going to have a tough time getting back into the scoring area by the end of the game. So the Dwarves we have here, sharpshooters and a cannon there in the difficult terrain. We've got a horde of shield breakers there, a horde of earth elementals. There's the king with the wings, and as we move over to the left, as I looked at here, we've got 2 units of ironclad battle driller, standard bearer, unit of bulwarkers. He's got the formation, so these 3 units here have iron resolve, and so does the king. Another cannon and a bombard, Brock riders with caterpillar, and rangers. So with his vanguard move, he's moved them up into the woods, so he's going to be able to shoot out. And the first turn roll off, I win there, so I'm going to go first. In first turn, I push everything up as fast as it can go, because I really want to mainly I want to fight well into his half of the table. All my stuff's faster than his, so I should be able to accomplish that, especially with going first. And that means that even if he gets the better of any of the action, Dwarves typically, once the war of attrition's over, they might struggle to actually reach my half by the end of the game if I'm fighting him way, way far back. So we'll see. And I don't have that much shooting either, so I might as well push forward. The same story on this side, everything's moving forward as fast as it can. You'll notice here that half the trolls have slid off the hill, but they are just 1 unit there. Just they wouldn't quite stay balanced there. Over on this side, same story, everything pushing forwards, and these have left themselves, this rabble unit here have left themselves in charge range of his rangers, which they don't care about one bit. Shooting. So the sniffs, their first go, 3 damage onto the shield breaker horde there. They're looking all the way along my right flank to see them. And on the other side, the other sniffs, shooting into cover, put 1 damage onto the rangers. So turn 1 for the Dwarves. What does he do? Well, he has a bit of an advance, doesn't want to get into charge range of everything, but I believe this unit is moving well into charge range of pretty much everything on this side. And these units are as well. But he's not put any of the stuff he really cares about that much into charge range. He's not got either of his hordes on the front lines. His king, of course, isn't in there. And the battle driller can't be charged. It's not level with them. So importantly, I can't charge the battle driller and then overrun into the other units. That would be bad news for him. So if you've got an individual like that on the lines, you don't want him exactly level. You want him slightly behind, so no one can get in there and make contact. And you can see those little arrow there working out whether there are any flanks left exposed. The Brocks have stayed behind the woods for now. They don't want to get attacked. And let's see what the shooting does. So the rangers in the woods, oh, they kill the Fleabag Sniffs on the left instantly. So that's bad news for the Goblins there. 1 unit down, and possibly paid the price for having no inspiring over there, although they did take 8 damage anyway. So it was a good attack roll. Artillery, what does it do? Along with the sharpshooters, do they hit? Yes, we have an artillery hit and the sharpshooters hit to do 6 damage to this giant, who's not worried by that yet. But you've got to chip away at these things. So there's how it looks at the end of turn 1. And you can see the massive amount of progress I've made here. And this unit here, it's not clearly visible here, but he's actually in charge range of both those trolls and also the giant as well. And over here, there's lots of charges open. The giant in on one of these units, the trolls, the troll bruiser. The mincer is not within charge range of anything though. That's quite slow, and he has a 10-inch charge compared to 14 for a giant. Turn 2. So these guys advance up. I don't want the trolls to get charged by anything, so I'm sending these guys forward as Operation Goblin Shield. Then over here, we have charges galore. So the giant goes into this unit of ironclad, and the trolls and the troll bruiser go into this unit. So they get wavered, but of course they're dwarves, so they might shrug that off with headstrong. And really, when you're piling in like this into a line that has multiple units, Sending something into both units is handy because often it will prevent flank charges from going in. Not always. Over here, the Mincers moves up, and this guy's just lurking around. I think he tried to Bane chant the trolls, but failed. Over here, you can see that I managed to triple charge that unit and just killed it. Squashed the Earth Elementals, so the trolls have turned away that way. And Harambe, the Bruiser, and the Giant both overran. They wanted to overrun because I wanted the trolls facing this way, and I didn't want this big horde here to be able to flank charge the trolls. So I overran both of these to cause a blockage there. Here we have the Sniffs on the right flank. They move up and they do a bit more shooting at the horde. Didn't do too much though. So you can see, really punched into enemy lines, doing damage, taken out a unit already in combat, and really getting right up in their grill, as they say. Turn 2 for the Dwarves. So we have a charge from the Shield Breaker unit into the Giant. They're capable of killing a Giant, definitely. Then all three of these units, both of the regiments and the Battle Driller, all charge into the Trolls. He'll be hoping to kill there, because if he doesn't, because they'll all be perfectly level at the end, that means I'll have the possibility to charge a Battle Driller and get an overrun if he doesn't kill these Trolls here, because they'll all be exactly an inch away. The King with Wings goes into the front of the Mincer, so it'll be defense 6. And this is something I left open that I'm not sure whether I didn't spot it or whether I just didn't care about the possibility of his Rangers flank charging the Rebel Horde, because he's not really going to kill them in one go, even in the flank. But I think it's just something I didn't think about, because I wasn't considering them charging off over here. Then the Brocks charge into the Rebel regiments. They could kill them. Up here, well, what do the Sharpshooters do? 4 damage onto this horde of Trolls over here. These are the ones that helped killing the Elementals. And 5 damage onto the Rebel Horde. Not enough yet, clearly. 7 damage only onto the Rebel Regiment from the Brock Riders. That's a big disappointment there, that he couldn't kill them in one go. In the middle, he only puts 7 damage onto the Trolls, so that's really bad as well. With these 3 units combined, you'd expect to do more than that. The Battle Driller on its own has got quite tasty fighting ability, so with these 2 regiments as well, you would think more than 7, certainly. But no. Over here, you can see 10 damage to the Giant. Not enough for even a waver, though, although even wavering a Giant in combat's pretty pointless. So not enough to kill that yet. And the Mincer. Now, this is my usual experience with Mincers. I find that because their nerve is low, as soon as they take 1 or 2 damage, they tend to get wavered immediately, which is really annoying. So I'm thinking twice about even taking Mincers. Some people swear by them and think they're amazing, especially with the changes to the Thunderous Charge rule, which is something that used to let them down because they rely on it so much. They have improved in that respect, definitely. But I still find that even with Defense 6 at the front, they tend to get wavered constantly, which is very annoying. They are a threat, though, so I see why people like them. And there's how it looks at the end of that turn. I'm pretty confident at this stage. I've got right into the enemy lines, not taken too many casualties, and in there eating face, which is what Trolls and Giants do best. Turn 3. So the Sniffs advance further. So with this scenario, with Invade, if you can get the enemy turning round to face you, then that's the dream, basically, because you're stopping them from advancing towards your half, and you're contesting the battle in the enemy territory, which is what you want, because then even if no one ends up winning the fight, you're still going to score points and they're not. So if you can get behind enemy lines, that's great. So they're in there and they shoot and do some damage to that cannon. Not much, though. In here, the Giant and the Bruiser go in and pile a bit of damage onto that horde. You would think they might go down after another round of combat looking at this, but the Giant might be dead by then. Here, these Trolls charge into the Sharpshooters in the difficult terrain and kill them in one go, which you would expect. And here, so the Troll Bruiser charged into one regiment of Ironclad, killed them. These Trolls charged into the Battle Driller, and the Giant charged into the other regiment of Ironclad. So the Trolls killed the battle driller and then overran into the ironclad, which was enough to finish it off. And they're all just staring down. They overran as far as they could, I think, so they're all just looking at this horde, which obviously can only charge one of them. Here, this guy, my little flagget, is just hiding behind the mincer because he doesn't want to get killed by that guy. Up here, you'll see that I had a flank charge available on these guys, on the Brock Riders, with my Rabble Horde, so they took that. Rebel Regiment countercharged in the front, and these trolls had a rear charge on the Rangers that were there fighting the flank of the Rebel Horde. So the trolls killed them, and they've now turned around to face this way in case this regiment dies next. And you can see, still looking very healthy for the Goblins, slowly chewing through, and not even that slowly, really. Definitely all coming up Goblin at the moment, contesting the battle where I want it to be contested and killing things, which is the dream. Turn 3 for the Dwarves, so counter-charge from the Brocks into the Rebel Horde in the flank, not the Rebel Regiment at the front. The horde of Bullwalkers decide to counter-charge, actually this is not counter-charge, it's just a regular charge, into the Giant. So they've slid down, which means they may get flank charged by trolls if they don't kill it. However, this guy does go into the rear of the trolls here, the king. And the shield breakers countercharge the giant there. So that giant's probably going to die now. This horde becomes wavered as a result of the Brocks, so they do all right there. The giant takes more damage, but doesn't even get wavered or anything. So 12 damage, so that would have meant that he needed 7 on the nerve test, but he wasn't rolling his nerve tests very well in this game, so that giant survived. This unit of trolls do become wavered though, so they're not going to be able to flank charge that unit, because this is the unit that has Fury, because of the Chalice of Wrath, so they're only going to be able to countercharge next turn, so they can still countercharge him. So they'll be able to do something. And look, the giant is dead as predicted. So there's how it's looking at the moment. Still looking healthy for the Goblins, I would say. Turn 4. So, Fleabag Sniffs in the flank. Harambe the Bruiser in the front. Tons of damage, but look at that. The infamous double 1 comes up. So whether it's going to be important or not, who knows, but it could be bad, because they are going to be able to probably kill one of these 2 units now on the countercharge. Wow, wow. In the middle, you can see that the countercharging trolls killed the king with the wings. And over here, these trolls were able to get in a flank charge. These are the ones that were coming in from the other flank. As I was talking about before, when you clear one flank, having faster units that can come in and help out in another fight when the game's really stretched like this is very helpful. So the trolls get in there, giant in the front. So these are Bullwalkers, so the giant is going to have a slightly tougher time than you would normally think fighting someone in the front. With this crushing strength 3, then normally you would expect to be wounding everything on 2s, but these are defense 6 in the front with their big shield. So the trolls are coming in handy in the flank as well there, getting a ton of attacks. I think those trolls were hindered though, so that's probably why, because I think they came from some difficult terrain. So not too much damage, but one more round should finish them off. These trolls and the Rebel Regiment double charged into the Brock Riders. There was just enough space to pull off that maneuver. So they're toast. So both flanks are going very well, apart from that double 1 up here, which could turn the tide. But again, it's looking really bad for the Dwarfs now. They don't have much left at all. And certainly not enough to win the game without getting very lucky. Turn 4, so the Standard Bearer charges into the rear of this horde. You can see why he's done that, even with 1 attack, because if he gets a lucky wound on them, he could actually kill them just with that 1 attack, because they're already heavily damaged. So it was worth a go. And the Bullwalkers kill the giant, finish that off. And you can see they turn around to face that way at the end, so they're looking at this troll unit who are going to go after them. Over on this side, the shield breakers countercharge into the sniffs, and you'd expect them to die horribly, which they do. And then they turn around to face the bruiser. There's 1 bruiser there. There's another one in this difficult terrain as well, facing that way. So there's probable double charge available there next turn. Yep, you can see him there. So there's a double charge available there. There's a charge there. And he doesn't have much left, does he? He's got the 2 hordes. One of them's at death's door. That one's already damaged. The war machine's there. That one was killed by this bruiser, I think. That cannon there. And he's got his standard bearer. Turn 5 for the goblins. So the double bruiser charge does finish off that horde of shield breakers there. So they're turning back to face this way. These trolls do successfully kill off. These are the ones with Dwarven Ale. So which fight was that? That would have been this one here. So they've successfully killed off the Bullwalker horde. And then the Rabble horde killed off the standard bearer on the counter charge. The trolls take out the cannon, charging into the wall to kill that. And that means that he's only got, going into his next turn, I think he's only got this war machine left in his turn 6. Is it even turn 6? No, turn 5 for the dwarves, should I say. So it's basically over for the dwarves, but can he kill something else with this bombard before the end of the game? Turn 5, the bombard. Oh no, there's a picture of the carpet, so that means it totally missed. Goblin turn 6. The trolls, of course, just move in there, finish off that war machine, and that's that. There's the final picture. So a rousing victory for the goblins. Very, very one-sided. The dwarf forces were not helped by some very poor rolling. On the nerve tests in particular were quite poor. There were a few times where if he'd rolled slightly above average against uninspired units, then he could have killed them, but continuously seemed to roll between like 3 and 6 on all the nerve when all he needed was 7 or 8 or 9 to kill things. So not a good day for the dwarves at all. Very good day for the goblins. Very successful for this list, which is the first time I've tried it. Sprinkling some shooting back in. And there is an awful lot of meat in this goblin list. All the trolls, the bruisers, the giants, the mincer. There is a lot of hitting power there. And sprinkled with some mobile shooting support with the sniffs and the war trombones as backup. There's some chaff in there, you could argue, with the Rabble Regiment. The Rabble Horde are good for soaking up some damage as well. So I think it's quite a tasty list. I'm not sure about the Flaggit with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. I don't think that's really necessary because I've got so much crushing strength already in this army. And he struggles to keep up with trolls sometimes. Being only speed 5, they're speed 6. And obviously he can't move at the double if he wants to actually use his loot. So I'm thinking of ditching him. I have got some other lists I may try as well that involve possibly bringing rock lobbers back in. But the way I look at it, I don't think I need to practice lists with rock lobbers that much. Because if you have a really good practice game with them and they just hit constantly, that's not necessarily a fair reflection of how it's going to go in a tournament. They are heavily luck-based machines, so practicing with them, you can practice how to get them in the best positions to shoot, but as far as the way the game progresses, it can be misleading sometimes to practice with them. So I'm half tempted to just play a game at a points disadvantage to kind of replicate the effect of the rock lobbers missing every turn throughout the game to see if what I've got left after that is enough to actually do something in the game. That would be an interesting thing to do. I would like to try that at some point, but I haven't ruled out taking rock lobbers to the next tournament yet. But then again, I haven't ruled out this list because it did quite well. Again, the things I'm not too happy with, the mincer tends to become wavered constantly, and the Flaggit on foot with the loot, not really sold on him. If I want to upgrade him, put him on a flea bag, give him some kind of weapon perhaps, then I would have to take something out, of course. So I shall have a long think about that because there are tweaks to be made, a couple of different things I want to try out before the next tournament, which I shall. Let me know if you want to offer the dwarves any advice as well as the goblins, because clearly the dwarf list here didn't work as well as it did in the previous game where it definitely had more success. But this time it just got chewed through big time. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description below, all the various social media shenanigans and such. And let me know if you're liking this battle report format. You're going to see a lot more battle reports, hopefully, if I'm doing them like this. Much quicker. and it's much easier to not even film them, much easier to just take pictures of them during play than it is to actually do filming that pauses the game. So let me know if this is enough for you, if this satiates your appetite and unquenchable thirst for red hot sizzling tactical battle report action fresh off the grill. Get it while it's steaming hot. Let me know. And with that, I will say good night out there, whatever you are.